Hello guys, how are you? My name is Zuram and today I start PHP course for absolute beginners. I will try to provide one video in a week, and I will start from very basics such as HTTP protocol and what is PHP. I will teach you how to install all necessary tools, and then we will go step by step, end up by creating our own mini PHP framework, and we will of course understand how today's modern PHP frameworks work, and we will install one of them and just see how it works and how it's written. And this is today's plan. Not today's, this is the plan of the course. What is HTTP protocol? We will understand how the connection is handled between the client, between the browser and the web server. We will install our local server and all necessary working tools such as code editor or IDE. Then we will understand all PHP fundamentals. So what is PHP, how you can create variables, functions, classes, and so on. We will of course work with HTML forms. We will submit forms and save the submitted data into file or database. Then we will move on object-oriented PHP, MySQL. Then we will understand how we can fetch resources from remote servers such as RESTful servers and so on. We can do this from PHP and we will do this. And finally, we will create our own framework and of course discover popular frameworks, as I said. The only prerequisite for this course is to understand what is HTML, CSS, and have a little bit of understanding of JavaScript. It will be good, but it's not mandatory. But HTML is absolute mandatory for this course, and CSS and JavaScript are just optional. It will be good if you know them. Okay, let's start with the HTTP protocol. HTTP protocol is today's standard for fetching resources such as HTML, JavaScript, CSS, images, and so on. It is foundation of any data exchange between the client and the server, and the client is the initiator of the request. So in our picture, the client, and in most cases it's browser, it sends HTTP request message to the server, and server returns a response message. Here is a little bit complex example of the previous one. So every resource fetch such as PNG or CSS or JPG, it's an HTTP request to the internet and then to our final web server. It is also possible that PNG or videos are handled by another servers, such as video server or ad server, but these requests are also done by HTTP. And the ad server or video server returns the HTTP response. Client in most cases is web browser, but it can be also another thing such as web crawler, Google's search engine. When it starts crawling the website, it's considered as a client. It sends an HTTP request to the server, and server returns the response. Mobile application can be a client. So when you open mobile application, it sends a request to fetch the data from the server. And the server can be an Apache web server with PHP, or it can be a Tomcat server with Java, Nginx with Python, Node.js with JavaScript, and so on. HTTP is really simple, it's really extensible, and it's stateless, but not sessionless. The state list means that between each requests there is no connection. So the previous request, the current request doesn't have any information about the previous one. So this means that HTTP is stateless. But not sessionless. This means that HTTP has possibility to send some additional information to server, telling the server that this is the same web browser that it was before. So this is the flow of HTTP. So the TCP connection is opened between client and the browser. Then the browser sends HTTP message to the server, and on the left side, this is the request template, and then server returns a response, and on the right side, this is the response template. Here's the request. So the request consists of several segments. First of all, the method. What is the method of the request? And when you open a web page, such as facebook.com or any other web page, just when you open a page, it sends a GET request to fetch the data. Then the path. The path is whatever is the after the domain. So path / means that we are fetching the root domain of the host. And the version of the protocol. Right now the most popular version is HTTP 1.1 and it is used in most cases. HTTP 2.0 is also available, which is slightly different. It has frames inside each request, and HTTP 2 is not that much readable as HTTP 1.1 is, but today's standard is mostly HTTP 1.1, so that's the current version. That's the mostly used version. And headers, so method, path, the version of the protocol, and headers. Headers contain additional information about the request or response, such as the host information we want to fetch, the language and the content type, and etc. And here is the response from the server. The protocol version is also included so that the client knows which response it should handle, and the server knows which version the client handles. So the status code 200 means that everything is okay. Status message okay, and headers again. The headers sent from the server contain information such as the date, what server it is, the Apache or Nginx, last modified date of the document, and so on. The size of the document, the content type of the document, and so on. Nowadays, a lot of APIs are based on the HTTP protocol, such as XML HTTP request or fetch API. So these APIs provide some features which are built on the HTTP protocol. HTTP headers, there are some standard headers in HTTP protocol, but you can send custom proprietary headers using X prefix. So if you want to pass additional information to the server, or if server wants to send additional information to the client, custom headers can be used. Most common request methods are GET and POST. GET is mostly for fetching data, and POST is for pushing data, for sending some data. But HTTP request method provides other methods such as options, delete, put, or trace, or even others. I will provide the links of all for the whole list of methods or for the whole list of HTTP headers. So by the end of the video, you can see these links, and you can find the links in the video description also. HTTP cookies are a piece of data that server sends to the user. And cookies is the mechanism that allows to send the data between client and server, and that gives the client and the server possibility to know that this request is connected to the previous request in some way, that the request sent from the client is the same one that's sent before. So cookies allow us to keep track if the user is logged in and to save some stateful information. And because HTTP is, in previous slide I said that HTTP protocol is stateless but not sessionless, and cookies is the reason that the HTTP is not sessionless. Okay. And as I said, the cookies are used to tell if the two requests come from the same browser, and that the current request is somehow related to the previous one. There are mainly three reasons cookies are used for. It's for session management, for personalization, and tracking. So session management is that each session, the cookies keep track if the user is right now logged in or not. For personalization, in cookies we can save information such as what kind of theme the user wants to have. So when the user chooses some theme, this can be saved inside cookie, and on next reload the same theme is used. For tracking, the Google Analytics uses cookies for keep tracking of the user's actions. Okay, that's basically the overview of HTTP protocol. Again, I will be providing links where you can read more and details about the HTTP protocol, but I assume the basic workflow of the HTTP protocol and between the client and the server is clear for you. Now let's understand what is PHP. The PHP is an acronym of PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. That's a recursive acronym where first P is PHP, again H is hypertext, and the last P is preprocessor. PHP was unleashed as the first version in 1994 by Rasmus Lerdorf. Right now PHP is very widely used open source scripting language. PHP scripts are executed on the server. So in order to execute PHP script, you need to run it on the server. You cannot just execute it with double click like you can do on HTML file. PHP is free, of course, and you can download right now. PHP is loosely typed language, which means that when you declare variables, you don't specify the type. So the variable can be integer. On its declaration, you can assign an integer, and then on the second line, you can reassign a string to the same variable. PHP can easily be integrated in today's most popular database systems such as MySQL, Postgre, Oracle, or MS SQL, or even with NoSQL databases such as MongoDB, for example. PHP syntax is C-like syntax. Okay, what is a PHP file? And what information can a PHP file contain? PHP file can contain basically text, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or its own PHP code. PHP codes are executed on the server and the final output is returned to the browser. And the final output in most cases are plain HTML. But the final output can be much more. It can be JavaScript, CSS, or even binary files. So when you access to the PHP script, the final output may return PDF document or image or video. PHP files have extension .php. Okay, PHP files can generate a dynamic page content. And the page content, as I said, can be HTML document or PDF or Excel file and so on. You can create, read, write, and delete some files on the server. You can collect form data and save in the database. PHP can send, of course, and receive some cookies, and using PHP you can update the cookies, remove some cookies, and add new cookies in the HTTP cookies. Of course, you can modify and create and delete some information in your database also, and using PHP you can control also user access. You can restrict some users to access a particular document and allow others who has permission for it. You can encrypt some data and save on the file system as an encrypted. If you are new to the backend systems, you may have a question why you want to start with PHP. PHP is really popular and really easy to start. It runs on various platforms on Windows, Linux, macOS, and so on. It's compatible to almost web servers today. It supports a wide range of databases. It's really easy to learn and runs really efficiently on the server side. It's interpreted language, which means that when you change something, you can immediately refresh the browser and see the output. You don't have to compile the code and wait until the server is reloaded. So if you have some experience working on compiled languages such as Java or C#, you should be familiar with this. And PHP is free, and you can download from the official resource. And it has many popular frameworks and CMSs for rapid development. And the latest version of PHP is 7.3. Okay, now we have basic understanding of what is PHP and why we should use it. Let's set up our environment. Again, you can find the links in the video description. So if you're a Windows user, you probably need to download Xampp. Xampp is available on all platforms, on Windows, Ubuntu, and Mac also. For Ubuntu, you can have separate installations. The Xampp contains Apache, MySQL, PHP, and others also. But if you want to have a separate installation, you can follow the instructions on the link, which I will provide in the video description, and install each of them separately. For editor, I really recommend VS Code, but if you want to have some intelligent IDE, I think the PHP Storm is the best one. The disadvantage of the PHP Storm is that it's not free. It's a 30-day free trial. You can start and use it and get familiar with it, and if you have enough money, you can buy it. And for VS Code, it's absolutely free and you can start using it. I have a lecturer license for PHP Storm, so in next videos I'm gonna use PHP Storm. Okay, I will again explain how you can download and install, for example, Xampp. And here are some screenshots. So you basically download the Xampp for your operating system. For Windows, it's an exe file, and you just run it as an exe file. and it has some screens. You click next, and it has some additional tools such as FileZilla, FTP Server, or Tomcat, or Mercury Mail Server. For this course you don't need them, but you can of course install if you want. We need only MySQL, PHP, and the Apache server, of course, itself. But additionally, let's install PHPMyAdmin and fake send mail. So if we need to simulate mail sending feature using PHP, the fake send mail will help us. And then when this is installed, it will provide you a control panel. So when the Xampp is installed, and it is by default installed for Windows, it's installed under C drive Xampp folder, and by default leave it as it is. And then you can open the Xampp control panel and start the Apache and MySQL. So MySQL is optional for now. You don't need to start maybe, but you may have problems about ports. On this screenshot, the port is a weird port. This is not quite true. So when you start the Apache, it should start on port AT and 443. Port AT and 443 are the common ports for web servers, Apache web server. So if for some reason you cannot start Apache web server, just let me know in the comments about this. But the reason maybe is that some other system, some other software uses these ports. Previously Skype was using port 80 or 443, and that was the reason why you could not start Apache web server. But nowadays maybe I think Skype fixed this problem. But anyway, if you have these problems, just search, close the Skype and try to restart it. If you didn't succeed, then you need to find out what is using your port. Okay, so after you install it, you are ready to start the development. Okay, when you install the Xampp and when you start the both Apache and MySQL, you can type localhost/PHPMyAdmin in your web browser, and this will open you PHPMyAdmin, which is a web client for working with MySQL. So if you just type localhost in your browser, and if it shows you Apache default page, you are okay. So you have successfully installed your Apache and it's running. And if you type localhost/PHPMyAdmin and this gives you this user interface, this means that you have also successfully connected to your MySQL database, and you can create databases, run queries, and so on. Okay, here are some links which I really encourage you to read. Some overall information about HTTP, overview, its whole list of headers, methods, cookies. So again, I really encourage you to read and know more about this. I cannot cover, of course, everything during this video, so you need to work on your own also. And install all necessary tools, read the information, and I guess that's all for now. Again, this is a course. I will provide more videos about this, so please let me know in the comments what do you think, and if you like, and if you want to see more videos, of course click the like and subscribe buttons. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next time.